Well. I guess that's the end of that. Boom. Hey, everybody. Johnny O from the Plot Hole. I think you know that. How's everybody doing? Who do we got here? Shit got lit over on Schrodinger's team was pissed. What happened, Charlie? I missed the Schrodinger thing. I missed that. All right. Hey, everybody. Give it just a second. I'll give that a semi-epic. Just a semi-epic? That's just semi-epic? All right. That's cool. Irish Demon Reloaded. Good to see you, brother. JL. NA, Zachary Hooper. Craven Mordick. All right. V. Renkin. Yeah, without a jelly donut. Oh, one of my biggest critics. That's fine. It's good to see you here. Tina Jones. Basic Trigonometry. Who else we have? Cygnus. Clive Wells. Prime Red. Charlie Welch, Tina Jones, said that already. Finn, Jackalope Herdmaster, good to see you. CJ, Zachariah Hooper, it's good to see everybody here. I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out. Angel Gamer, hello. Hey, Chris Durham. Hey, yeah, you know what? I think that's a peace sign. Yeah. See, the peace or victory, one of the two. Kind of depends on what school. Schrodinger was doing a live stream to announce a GoFundMe for Virgo Tree. What's going on with that? Man, look, I understand that some people, and I'm not, I don't think there's anything going on with Schrodinger. I would not, I would assume that he's been pretty on the up and up with being 100% transparent about everything he's doing. So, the Unirocks, we're not telling him to stop. Cult followers reported the GoFundMe as a scam, and he's saying he's not part of it, but not telling them to stop. Wait, so the Athens, that's why team was pissed because. Yeah, that's curious. I have to ask him about that one. You see, this is why these are shit stories, because it's a long, when all the shit finally comes out, right? You have a lot of pressure on one end. It's pushing, and then you have other people that are on the other end that are resisting, and that you've got these two things that all of a sudden it's like, one side is doing the other side, and they just keep fucking pushing on each other. You know what I mean? One's resisting, one's pushing, and it keeps going. Finally, it fucking erupts, right? Everything finally comes out. Well, at least everything starts to come out, and that's when this shit gets really nasty. Like I've seen this stuff happen before in other situations and other circumstances. It's nasty when it happens, but people do come back from it. You can come back from it. You can heal. You can, learn to forgive. At least most of the people do, right? Most of the people can. There are going to be some, quote, casualties of this whole situation. People are going to get their feelings hurt, rightfully so. Others are going to be, just too angry and too upset to want to have to deal with this type of stuff anymore. And I get it, right? It's not fun. I don't like covering this type of stuff because it's so nasty. But let's see. He's definitely talking about constipation. Says, yeah, basically. Yep, it's exactly what I'm talking about. It's just like that. All right, hey, Stuart Bunn, and here's the thing. I get it. This is exactly what I'm talking about, right? So it's already kind of started in the side chat here, and I want to keep this channel open to free exchange of ideas on everybody's part. Now, I get it. I understand that there's a lot of anger and frustration on both sides. I get it. Let's try and leave as much emotion out of it as we can. Let's all come to the table with an open mind, listen to each other. Let's try not to argue too much. Let's see if we can, see if there's see if there is common ground, see if there are things that we do agree on, and see if we can hash out the things that we don't agree on. And this is probably the most important part of what you're going to hear. Constipation is no joke. It's exactly right. Constipation is no joke. Virgo's house burned down. She lost 2 dogs, and she's in ICU. Well, I truly hope for the best. That shit sucks. That shit sucks. Let's see here. What's going on? Hey, Elizabeth S. How you doing? So again, that's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to do this type of stuff, because I do think that there's a way that people can get past all this stuff. And I know that some people are never going to be satisfied fully, which is one of the reasons why covering these types of stories for someone like me is difficult, because it doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what evidences are produced or not produced or this, that, and the other. It's all, there's always going to be people out there that no matter what, it's not going to be good enough, because the answer that they get doesn't fit with what they feel. You know what I mean? And I don't mean this to be disrespectful or rude, but I don't care about your feelings. I care about what the evidence produces. Now, let's see here. Apartment fire. She banged her head and has smoke inhalation. Apartment insurance was only. Oh, geez. Ugh. She didn't ask for. Well, Grogu is fucking adorable. Yes, Grogu. Right here he is. Boom. There he is. Grogu. But yeah. So I hope that everything, you know, on that end, at least with what's going on with the fire and whatnot. I hope that you know, they sort that out, get that figured out, because that's kind of a shitty thing for anybody to have to go through. And see, that's what I'm talking about. So anytime now somebody says, hey, I want to hold a fundraiser for this, that, and the other, simply because of the shit that's gone on, regardless of anybody who's involved with those fundraisers or not are involved, that's just, man, it's a real shitty situation, right? Because you've got somebody who genuinely needs some help, apartment fire, in ICU, lost her animals. Those are like her family. You know what I mean? I've got 2 dogs and 4 turtles, and they're like my kids. Schrodinger called the hospital on his own and all that important stuff. That's good. That's good. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. If as long as it's on the up and up, I don't think anybody should have a problem with that. I don't think anybody should have a problem with people asking that this is on the up and up, and asking for the evidence, or the let's properly vet this whole business. I don't have a problem with that. I think that Schrodinger's even docks himself with his $500 donation willingly. Really? Fire is tough, man. That's true, Finn. Fire is a tough thing to do. It's really tough. And I agree, Charlie. I think that Schrodinger has been straight up when it comes to his fundraiser, his philanthropy. But again, I don't have a problem with people saying, hey, Schrodinger, I need you to, because of the things that have happened, I need you to substantiate this, make sure that we properly vet this whole situation. I'm sure he did. I didn't want that coaster anyways. Anyway, so all right, here, this is a reason why we are here. We are here to speak about the accounting, so to speak, of the Astronomy Live and Vegan Atheist receipts, the unredacted receipts that I myself have seen. Team Skeptic saw them as well. Charlie Welsh says, I donated $2. I need my own fundraiser. As long as you tell them what it's for, that's all that matters. Of course, I'm kidding. Well, no, here's the thing. If you have a fundraiser, if I were to hold a fundraiser right now, say, hey, I want to, hold fundraiser for Hookers and Blow, whatever, you know what I mean? As long as I'm up front and I spend the money on what I say I'm going to spend the money on, I mean, we should be okay with that. Don't do that, though. Don't hold a fundraiser for Hookers and Blow. Don't do that. That's just not cool. All right. So I'm here to answer some questions. What questions I can answer when it comes to these receipts. Now, I've got everything. I've got all the receipts. I've got video going over each and every little piece of them. That's what I shared with Team Skeptic. He can vouch for all this stuff as well. Party at Johnny's. Oh man, let's do it. Let's do it. Did you call the hotels? Here's the thing. Even if I did call the hotels, there's no way that they would verify, because that's privy information. I mean, it's possible I could get it out of them. but everything about those receipts, there's nothing on those receipts that look suspect. There's nothing. What we can here, okay, so this is the important part. So what we can verify that the dog got from Florida, that Dexter was taken from Florida to Colorado. Okay, and then Vegan Atheist is the one who did this, and she was coming from, I forget, Indiana, I think, right? So when we take a look at the fastest route from where Vegan Atheist started to Florida, from Florida to Colorado, and then back, the route that she took matches the route that the receipts state that she took. You know, the receipts for the hotels, the receipts for the gas and whatnot. So all that, Michigan. So all that, it fits, right? Illinois, yeah, it fits. It fits in that with what anybody would consider to be a reasonable trip. Now, whether you agree with the trip or not, that's beside the point, right? So if you think, if you think that, all right, so this is a question that I'm going to come to. I'm going to get to that. I'm going to answer your question without a jelly donut. And again, this is me giving you the answer that I received. So I'm not saying that you have to take it for what I give it, but this is the answer that I will get to this here in a second. But so the again, whether you believe the route should have happened or not, that's beside the point. But the fact that the route fits with the receipts, right? It paints the same story. It would be use lots of roughage, but it makes sense, right? The angle, the route makes sense. It's the most direct route from A to B to C back to A. So those receipts, I think those receipts are legitimate. The thing that Team Skeptic had issue with when it came to the receipts, the Holiday Inn and the Comfort Inn, if you look up both of those companies or both of those hotels, they're owned by the same company. I have it written down. I just can't remember what it was called, but it's the same parent company that uses the same types of software for receipts. It's, it's formulaic, right? So instead of saying, hey, I'm going to have this, no, it's all one. We're all the same company. We're all going to use one style of receipt. I have Holiday Inn receipts. I have Comfort Inn receipts from whatever I would go from here to California or wherever. I've seen these receipts, and everybody. If you've stayed at a hotel, you've had a hotel receipt. They look. You know what they look like. It's not something that I'm saying that it's impossible to fake. It's just the preponderance of evidence, at least in this instance, suggests that we're on the up and up. So, how many trips does it take to a pet shop in one day? How many trips does it take? I'm assuming. So I'm going to assume, and correct me if I'm wrong without a jelly donut. I'm going to assume that what you mean is how many reasonably. What does it mean to take to go to a pet shop, right? To get the things that you need. And I understand the question. Why would you have to go to a pet store twice in one day, or to a pet store twice within a couple of days to get everything you need? I don't know Astronomy's pet situation. I think I remember correctly, he hasn't had large dogs before. So he may not have known going in what he was getting himself into or what he would have needed. But while he was at the pet store the first time, he grabbed like a leash. I probably should have pulled up these receipts if I were not talking about it. But he grabbed a couple things: a leash, a bed, a couple a toy or two, and then he noticed that Dexter he had blood in his urine. He peed in the store, and there was blood in that urine. So he kind of freaked out a little bit and just paid for what he had. Took the dog to the vet. Timestamps look good. Took the dog to the vet. Thank you, Irish Demon, for $2.99 Aussie for HNB fundraiser. I don't know what that is, but anyway. So taking the dog to the vet to get the dog looked at to make sure the dog is okay, and then after he figured out the dog was okay, gets back to the house and realizes, hey, I forgot a couple of things and went back. Apparently the first bed that he got was too small, and I did see a picture of the first bed. It was too small, so he went back and got a bigger bed. At the time, there was no conversations between the family and Astronomy Live, nor was Astronomy Live, as he says, was he under the impression that he was going to be reimbursed for everything. I think he kind of assumed it, which may be a little, whatever. He may have assumed that he was going to be reimbursed, but I think he wouldn't have had a problem. After speaking with him, I don't think he would have had a problem paying for that stuff out of pocket regardless. I did see evidence of conversations between Astronomy Live and Booleanator's family, that Booleanator was, his family wanted to make sure that Astronomy Live and Vegan Atheist were reimbursed for their expenses. I haven't spoken with the family. I think that would be a little, I think it'd be a little insensitive at the very least, simply because some guy who purports himself to be a journalist on YouTube is calling me, I don't know. If they want to reach out to me and speak to me and give me their side of the story, of course, I would happily extend that invitation and listen to everything they have to say. Absolutely, of course. I just don't think, especially with, the goings on, losing their child, losing a brother, losing a friend. I just think that's a little uncouth to, hey, I need you to tell me about this fraudulent fundraiser or, whatever, you know what I mean? Let's see here. Irish Demon, you go to the donut shop at least 15 times a day just for yourself. Look, sometimes those donuts are nice and tasty. I wouldn't know. I don't eat donuts anymore because I'm fat and I don't need to be fat anymore. So without a jelly donut, I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, please, again, hit me back up and I have no problem, further explaining myself. I didn't see a whole lot out of the ordinary when it came to what Astronomy Live and what Vegan Atheist requested or had reimbursed, right? I didn't see, I didn't see any large items that were purchased at the pet shop, for instance, that were later could have been returned. You know what I mean? At the Plateau, I'll give you a taste. I bet you will. I bet you will crave me more, Dick. I don't like eclairs though. I don't like the cream filling. Anyway, I could have understand like if there were in these pet shop, they weren't in, it was like what, $125 max. So he could have bought everything and then taken it all back and got himself an extra $125. I just don't see anybody. Oh, that's, again, it didn't look to be anything out of the sorts. The vet bills look to be normal. And I know what people are they're going to latch onto that ish part, but the vet bills look to be normal. It looked to be something that would be within reason for someone who had for a dog who has a urinary tract infection, and making sure that he has his shots and whatnot, his vaccines, especially if you're going to be traveling from Florida to Colorado. Oh, hi, puppy. Hi, puppy. What are you doing? I got distracted by my own dog. Oh yeah, so I didn't. Again, the vaccines and whatnot to make sure that Dexter was healthy, the medicine to make sure that he got rid of the UTI, all that stuff. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think if someone had picked up a sick puppy and you could take the dog to the vet, and they couldn't verify what shots he'd had or didn't have. I don't know I don't know what kind of record keeping Booleanator kept or not. So again, it was well within reason. It didn't seem to be anything exuberant, right? So again, I hope that answers that question. If anybody has any other questions, feel free. Otherwise, I'm going to continue to check the chats, see what we got here. Golden Unicorn. Twitter is so vile. I avoid that and FB as much as possible. It's a serious disconnect from real life. I have got to say I agree. Oh, wait. We have another question. Let's see. But why was Dexter in bad shape? He was a service dog, no vaccines, UTI, etc. I don't think that he didn't have vaccines. I don't think they could. I just don't know which vaccines he had, because I don't know how. And again, there's still some other things that I'm looking at on the back end. And this is a where to go. Right here. Yeah, professional transporter would have likely required immunizations anyway, and if they didn't have that record with him to say that he was up to date on his immunizations, he was going to have to get them regardless. And giving him those shots, I don't think it was. I mean, again, right? He's a service dog. Probably needed to be up on his shots anyways. It's not something that, again, is going to be that wouldn't have been required by any type of transport service. And as far as a UTI, there's any number of reasons why Dexter could have had a UTI. He could have, I mean, with being in the shelter that after he was picked up, I don't know how long it was from when bullying had passed to when they picked up the dog. He could have, held his, being a good boy, quote, could have held his urine until he was able to get out. Okay, so this is one thing I do want to make. I have 2 service dogs in my house. They are emotional support animals for my children and my wife, right? I don't know. And I see that AT2 Productions is in the chat. If you know, Jared, if he was a registered dog or not, let me know. I didn't think he was. I thought he was more emotional support animal than anything. So there's a little bit of a difference there. So emotional support animal could be any animal. It could be anything. It could be a fucking scorpion. Okay. Dexter was trained to detect seizures. Okay, cool. Yeah, now that you said you must stream while why must I stream while MC2 stream? Everybody asks me that. I didn't know until after I started streaming. And you know what? I think MC Tune and I started streaming on Tuesdays around the same time frame. So there we go. That's kind of what happened. Sorry. He and I are going to cross streams one of these days. It's going to be fun. Yeah. Craven Mordic says, my Scorpion has all the shots. Well, that's good. But if he was a trained service dog, then you would think that it would be more records kept on these animals, but they're not, right? So they train them and then they adopt them out to the people whom they're going to service. It's not like they have some sort of group that comes and checks on them every now and again. I just it's one of those deals. Oh wait, Irish says, I don't see my dogs as emotional support animals as such. They're ridiculously well trained, but I just see them as my little buddies. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, right? Our dogs they're officially emotional support animals, but they're like our family here. Ton Regime says, don't cross the streams. That would be very bad. But what if there's a giant Stay Puft Marshmallow Man? You have to think about this stuff. Let's see here. Let's see. I don't know, but in my area, even the trained service animals aren't as monitored as they should be. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, that's true. Clive Wells, I'm a Bigfoot service animal. Why do you think my family keeps him around? It's not because of my ruggedly good looks. There you go. In Ireland, they're extremely well looked after and have regular visits by charities, etc. See, I wish that we had a more involved and active service animal. I think they're just underfunded. There's a lot of volunteer work. That they just don't. There's just not enough people. They don't have not enough resources to do that type of thing. I really wish there were. You know, a lot of people say, well, why don't we put that on to the people who take the animals? Why don't we make them responsible? Well, then when you do stuff like that, you limit the amount of people or the type of person who can get a service animal. You limit to somebody who is, going to be a little bit more well off. So these people need to have their service animals, right? And there's only so much that subsidies or government funding is going to give these people. Now, granted, they get the money, and they do get assistance to having these dogs taken care of, looked after, but minor emotional support because I live in an apartment. That was the only way I could have my dog. So yeah, there's a lot of people who use that to get a lot of people use that to get their animals, to force apartments to take their animals. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I don't like the people who abuse it, who say, well, I got to have 50 dogs and those are my emotional support animals. Therefore, I don't like people who abuse it, of course, because it makes those of us who really do need or have a need for that kind of, we're the ones that kind of have to worry about all that mess. What was the question, Finn? Did I answer your question? Finn, let me know if I answered your question. Let's see what else we got going on here. And yeah, Jared, with it depends on the area. There's certain places that are a little bit better when it comes to I gotta read these slides. There's a certain area where they'll have a little bit more control, a little bit more involvement. I do see that I have a guest with me. I invited this person on because I wanted to give him the opportunity to give his side of the story, and he is here now. So I'm going to add Astronomy Live to the stream. And whenever you are ready, sir, you may. You're here to help answer some questions.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, I just saw your Discord message a moment ago, so I'm joining sort of off guard here, but
Oh
I'll
no,
do my
that's
best.
okay. Look, this isn't meant to be any kind of gotcha or attack or anything. I figure that there's only so much that I can say. A lot of people would appreciate hearing some of this stuff from you, so I extended you the opportunity to come on. It was last minute, so everybody, if you have questions, by all means, ask away. But do try, what I mean, like I said, let's keep this as professional and respectful as possible. Let's see here. Okay, so first off, if you want to kind of give just a rough account of what you've got going on when it comes to these, more than happy to listen to that for everybody to get your side.
In terms of the Bull fundraiser,
Right.
or okay,
Yes.
so I guess I'll just cover some of the things that I covered with you in our initial talk. Just to recap for those who don't know. So I got the call that Bullet passed away pretty quickly after Reds knew about it. So I was actually driving to the east side of the state of Florida at the time. I actually remember where I was on the road when I got that call. It was traumatic and unexpected. Um, we spent the rest of the evening tracking down his family's information to be able to contact them and get in touch with them about what had happened and about um, our intention to try to help them out with a fundraiser. So we found their information um, and got in touch with them that night. Um, and they were, happy that we were willing to help. I think at first they didn't know because who would they, they didn't know us from Adam, right? And so I think at first they didn't know if we were really serious about doing a fundraiser and how much money we could actually raise for them. But they were very receptive to it and happy to have the help, especially where it concerned Dexter, because the family lived in Colorado. I think that's public at this point. I'm not going to give exact addresses, of course, but the Dexter would need to be transported to them somehow. And at the same time, Dexter was in a shelter, um, and he needed to be essentially rescued from that situation. The shelter had a firm time limit on how long we had to pick him up before he would be up for adoption. And so I had to sort of cut my Christmas with my parents short and come back to the West Coast to pick up Dexter, which we did pretty quickly, I think on the 29th, off the top of my head. If I get the exact dates wrong, I apologize. I don't have the receipts in front of me right this moment. But went and picked him up from the shelter. And this was another point of contact where it was not only a fact that we were in contact with the family, but I couldn't have picked him up if we hadn't been in contact with the family, because Dexter, I'd only met Dexter once, really, which was the Falcon Heavy night launch, which I believe was the STP-2 launch. Again, I could be getting that confused. No, that's right. I think it was the STP-2 launch. The only Falcon Heavy night launch to have occurred so far. And that's the night launch that Boole came and was with us for that, along with Dexter for that evening. And so the only time I'd had a chance to meet Dexter was in the dark, waiting for this launch, and he was pretty much sitting under a table the whole time. So I didn't really know what he looked like all that well, because I'd only seen him in the dark over a year before. And so when they put him in front, basically gave me a lineup and said, okay, which dog is yours? I'm like, well, he's not my dog. He's a friend who was mostly an internet friend who I, spent a little bit of time with, one time with this dog, over a year ago. I couldn't tell you what the dog looks like exactly. And they're like, well, how do we know we can release this dog to you then? And so they had the contact information for Boole's sister. And so they went off in the back and conferred and confirmed that everything was on the up and up. And then they finally released the dog to my care. At that point, I took him into my car, called the sister, let her know I do indeed have the dog, and we're going to go start picking things up for him and coordinated from there. So to make a long story, because I'm rambling here, perhaps going over every needless detail, but the sad thing is every needless detail is now being questioned. And part of that I understand is justified. Hindsight is 2020. Had I known what I know now about Sean and Ilya, obviously we wouldn't have had their involvement in this, but I certainly didn't know at the time any of that had gone on. So I understand it from that perspective, but there's been a lot of conspiracy theorizing, frankly, about my receipts and about my involvement and about how much money I made off of this. And as you know, Johnny, from looking at the receipts and from looking at the expenses and how much I was paid, I was reimbursed for my costs, but I didn't make a dime. And so, it was on the up and up. So after picking up the dog, after talking to the sister, the plan was initially to reimburse her, pay her up front to drive over to me to pick up the dog. Although I still had time off for Christmas, I was not allowed to leave the state of Florida at the time due to COVID restrictions. So I was stuck, essentially unable to drive the dog. The sister initially tried to drive to us, but her car broke down immediately, and she was not feeling comfortable or confident in the car being able to make the trip.
Okay, so let me interject really quick, because there is a point of contention there, right? So originally you guys sent money to Boole's sister.
Correct.
And then she had to turn around and send it back, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Why? I'm just curious as to why that would have been necessary.
So, for one thing, my understanding is that the GoFundMe for Boole was tied up, and that GoFundMe was investigating because of reports that had been made to GoFundMe. And so we were not able to get the full funds out of GoFundMe. We had a subset of the funds. Funds had been sent to the sister, but she wanted to send us that money back so that one of us could drive to meet her instead. This was what the family wanted. And so there's been talk about, why didn't we go with a cheaper option? Well, if you actually get the quotes, which I have, airfare was not really much of a cheaper option. Maybe you would have saved $100 for a more risky situation. It was going to be about $900 to stick them on an airplane between the airfare and the crate that we would have had to buy. it was about $1,000 for Coral to come down and do it. And the suggestion from the family is for one of us to go and drive the dog up to them. So that's essentially what we did. If you look at professional transport options, they can range from $1,000 on up to, I have a quote for $1,700 to do this trip from a shipper here in Florida. So professional transport wasn't going to be any cheaper either. And so that's why the funds were sent back to provide for that transport for the dog. And then all remaining funds were sent to the family. So we had to work this out, though. We had to figure out what we were going to do in terms of shipping and how we were going to get the dog up to the sister. And so Coral volunteered to do it. And thankfully, she was able to do it, and she did a fantastic job, and gave him the care he needed. The other issue we had.
Volunteer, that's a little. She agreed to do it. We'll say that because she did get reimbursed. Right? So I mean,
she was reimbursed for her gas and her hotels, but she was not reimbursed for food. I mean, she was doing us a favor by taking the time to do this. Let's be honest about that. And the other thing is, we were having to treat Dexter while all this is going on. As soon as I pick the dog up, I find Dexter has a severe UTI. He needs immediate treatment at the vet, which I got him. I got him in immediately to see the vet. And as we're going through and trying to figure out how to transport him, and as we're making arrangements for Coral to come down and do it, she needs, and any professional transporter is going to need, a certificate of health to transport him into Colorado.
Right.
So we had to go back to the vet and get a clean bill of health, which obviously could not happen right away. But we ultimately did. And it was, we were not 100% sure if that was going to be successful on even the second visit, because technically he still needed a follow-up visit. And if the vet had wanted to be, hard about it, they could have said, no, we're not giving you a clean bill of health until we get the final sign off that the UTI is fully resolved, et cetera, and we have the cultures back and everything else. So there was some uncertainty there on that end. Fortunately, it worked out. The second visit, we were able to get the clean bill of health, and we were able to get the paperwork needed for transport across state lines. So that all had to be done. There's been, conspiracy theorizing that I've heard the claim made that we got the paperwork for transport because we were originally intending to go with a professional transport, and then we changed our mind at the last minute. No, the intention all along from getting that clean bill of health was, at that point, we already knew Coral's going to come down and do this. And the family was happy with that. That's what they wanted. They wanted somebody, one of us to go and do it. I was not able to, but Coral was.
Mm-hmm. So here's one. I mean, I'm going to try and pick apart the questions in the side chat. So everybody, if you're asking a question, I'm doing the best I can to get to them. The first one comes from Nerd Angle. Says, was the vet clinic located inside of the pet store?
No. The vet clinic is very near my house, but it's not the same as the pet store. Those are two different addresses.
Okay. Hang on a second. I had one and then the damn thing jumped. There was one, I think it was from Menace to Society, asking how many beds did the dog need for, here we go. Here it is. Why did Astronomy Live buy 2 dog beds for a short-term stay? Let's skip the smoke and mirrors.
Well, and this was one of the things I addressed with you in our call, was that I bought 2 beds because the initial bed I bought was bought in a panic, as Dexter was literally pissing blood on the floor in the pet store, and I'm beside myself at this point because I didn't know, first of all, that he had a UTI, and second of all, it was severe. I mean, it looked bad, and I knew I needed some essential items for him, so I quickly gathered up what I could, like a harness and a leash, which he desperately needed, and the first bedding material I could find for him, which turned out to be too small for him. He still liked to cuddle up in it, and he still got use out of it, but it was more of I want to curl up in something during the day, and so I like to do that, and I also like to gnaw on this thing. So he liked to gnaw on that thing, and he liked to cuddle up in it, but it wasn't what he slept in at night. So for the first night, I just gave him some of my own blankets and made a bed for him and sat with him and laid with him that night, and took him out because he needed to go out constantly because of the UTI. And I knew right away we needed another bed. And so I got another bed, but the first bed was still something he got use out of, but it wasn't the final solution. We needed a better bed for him to sleep in at night. And so that's why there are 2 beds. And both of those beds were sent to the family. You can see that in the photos that were with vegan atheist Coral as she picked him up. You can see both beds are in the car.
Gotcha. Let's see here. Now, I don't think you can answer this one here. The sister that speaks exactly like Red's. I haven't heard this. I've heard bits and pieces of it, but I haven't sat down and actually listened to it. One, Red's has me blocked on all the social medias, so I unfortunately wasn't privy to this, and no one has shared this with me yet. So there it is. I only get bits and pieces. Let's see here.
I mean, I don't think her voice sounds all that much like Red to me, but I've spoken to her on the phone myself, and I've shown Team Skeptic the proof that that is indeed her phone number that I was talking to, and I can tell you from my own personal experience that was her voice in the recordings that she had on the videos that Red put out. That's her voice. So I don't know if they're trying to suggest that Red altered his voice and try to make it sound like a woman, but that's not the case.
Why did Astronomy Live and Vegan Atheists get paid first? Did you guys get paid first?
Well, see, we were reimbursed, and at that point, I sent out 2 checks. So when I was reimbursed, I also received money that was sent out to the family, and I can't tell you off the top of my head the exact timing, but pretty quickly sent out that check for the first lump of funds that was sent out to the family, and then when the final funds were released for GFM, that all went to the family.
So what happened to Bull's computer and why? Was the family explain how much it was worth?
Was the family explained how much it was? I
The computer.
guess so
from
Bull's belongings.
The argument here is that the computer had a significant value to it that should have been at least returned to the family so they could figure out if they wanted to, do whatever with it, I guess.
Okay, I don't know how much Bull's computer was worth, but I know that the family was given access to his possessions, and that was all dispositioned. Beyond that, I don't think it's appropriate to discuss what the family decided to do with each belonging. I mean, that was all on the family at that point.
So from your understanding, the family had gone through all of his things, all of his belongings.
I don't know. I can't say for sure if they personally went through it in person, but I know that they were, given the opportunity to receive what they wanted from his belongings, and decisions were made about what to do with that. So,
excuse me.
They were in the loop on that, shall we say.
Mm-hmm.
I know Red had interest in making sure his privacy was protected, but those were discussions that were had with the family, and the family came to, I guess you could say the family agreed with what they wanted done there, and that was what happened there. So as far as the Bull's computer's worth, I don't know what his computer was worth, honestly.
That's fair. I ask. I think it's an irrelevant question to the claims that are being made by you when it comes to the receipts and whatnot. Explain the sister accusing critics for not getting paid. I think that's more of a question for the sister. Astronomy Live, you're more than welcome to offer.
I'm going to have to read sort of between the line there to try to understand what they're trying to get at there. I'm going to assume that means, why did the sister accuse the critics that they weren't getting all the money initially? Again, this was to do with the GFM, and my understanding is the GFM had been reported as fraudulent, and GoFundMe locked it down while they investigated. They finally released the funds, and so the funds were delayed for that reason. We weren't able to get the funds right away.
Were you privy to how the family went through the belongings beforehand?
Before what? I do. Sorry.
So no, a second ago you made the claim that the family went through, be it virtually, be it in person or whatever, they went through his belongings.
My understanding is they were put in touch with the individual who had physical access to those belongings, and the family made the decision of what to do with those belongings. So, I wasn't privy to that conversation, but I was privy to knowing that they had been put in touch with the person who had physical access to those belongings.
Okay. So now one of the issues that people are having is the claim that Dexter, the claim, and I think it's a legitimate claim, that Dexter had a UTI, and the claim that he needed to have these vaccines and whatnot to make the trip. Now, obviously, with all the goings on, you want to transport a dog from one state to the next. Certain states have requirements, and Colorado is a state that requires that a dog have a clean bill of health coming in. That's just one of the things that Colorado asks for. Now, with Bull's dog being a service dog, now from what I understand, Bull's dog was trained to detect seizures, correct?
Right.
Okay. Now, there's some people who believe that there are organizations, and there are organizations that do take care of these animals. So why wasn't Bull's dog, or why wasn't Dexter taken care of by one of these organizations?
So I don't have any of the paperwork with Dexter. I mean, I was expecting that when I picked him up, I'd get access to the paperwork, but they didn't have anything. They didn't have Alicia. They didn't have anything for him. And I don't know what happened to that. I don't know what happened with that. But I was given nothing, in terms of documentation that, yes, this is a service dog. I can tell you from firsthand experience, he had the vest, and he was helping Bull when I was with him and Bull at the Falcon Heavy launch. And Bull told me that this was a service dog that, helped him. And so my understanding from knowing Bull for the brief time I did and interacting with him is that this was his service dog. Beyond that, I didn't have any paperwork proof I could show anyone to be able to get help with that. So, what was I to do? I just tried to take care of Dexter the best I could.
I got you. So I think the follow-up question to that would be, why wasn't there more of an effort to get in contact with the organization that provided this dog?
The organization that you mean to me? The organization that provided the dog to me was the shelter, but
no. So the organization that provided the dog to Dexter.
I mean, without the paperwork, I wouldn't even know who to call about that. Okay. Who am I supposed to reach out to on that? I don't know. That was never provided to me.
So who was the person who talked to the family regarding his belongings?
My understanding is it was the landlord, but that was the person who, my understanding was, had the physical access to the belongings and had contacted the family on that. Beyond that, I was not privy to that conversation between them and the landlord.
That's fair. Let's see here. All right, I think I am caught up with the questions in the side chat. So after all this here, how have you been able to? Well, okay, let's back this up a minute. When we sat down, we looked at every receipt that you provided that originally was heavily redacted.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I have seen the unredacted receipts, and you have been willing to provide or at least go over those documents to just about anybody who's asked, correct?
I mean, you were, as Coral said, you were the first person to actually ask and follow through on that and actually have a conversation with us. I know Team Skeptic was willing to be there. He wasn't able to, but I did talk to him one-on-one later, following night, and went over those again and went through everything. I mean, heck, I'll tell you right now, I showed him my bank account. I logged into my bank and showed him my bank account. I showed him logged into my cell phone provider, showed him my phone records. I mean, this is the level of transparency I gave him.
Right. So who did the landlord call first? I'm pretty sure the landlord would have called the emergency contact first. I'm assuming it would have been his mother or his sister.
Yeah, I don't know who the landlord.
And yeah, I wouldn't expect you would have privy that information. And do police just hand over a laptop during an investigation? First and foremost, we have to assume that they're investigating something. And just because they're investigating something doesn't necessarily mean they're investigating something that is, quote, foul play. I imagine if they thought that there were foul play in this, and yeah, there would be things that would be tagged and pulled, and they would look through it. But again, and I'm coming at this from an assumption point of view. So again, take that with what you will. But I don't believe that the police would be investigating anything other than someone who had passed. I don't even think the police would do. Do you even know if the police were involved?
So, firsthand, I don't have that knowledge. Secondhand, what I heard was that they were looking at it not as I never heard that they were looking at it as a foul play situation, but anytime something like that happens, they want to understand the cause of death, I'm sure. And it was a few days before I heard about the cause of death. The family, I have not heard that they want that released, and I'm respecting their privacy on that.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's not something I want to get into either. Again, that would be obscene. So Finn says contact with Reds for Boole's landlord. I haven't seen that piece of evidence. If somebody would like to provide that and be able to substantiate that, I'll definitely take a look into it. Let's see here. So it's police procedure to investigate. Absolutely. I'm not saying they wouldn't investigate. What I'm saying is that just because they are investigating doesn't necessarily mean they're going to say, hey, this was foul play. I think knowing what they knew, I don't, and again, I'm not assuming, I'm not meaning to assume too much here, but I don't think they would have said, it's not like CSI Miami, where everybody gets in, you got whatever his name is, a shitty actor coming in, speaking all slow and staccato.
Yeah, and I just want to point out one thing, because I may have left things a little too open there on saying the cause of death, that they don't want that publicly disclosed. That said, right. It was natural causes. There have been conspiracy theories that it was not natural causes, but that is not the case. Beyond that, I'm not going to discuss it, but it was natural causes.
Right. Red stated that he was a contact on a stream. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, that's one thing that I would like to address here. And some people, look, you want to criticize the way that I conduct the investigation that I conducted, that's fine. Absolutely criticize me. I mean, I'm human. I make mistakes. If I've missed something, absolutely call it out, bring it up to my attention. I'm more than willing to listen to anybody who has any kind of legitimate criticism. I do think that we have gotten to the point where there's a lot of things that have been said that cannot be we can't know. A lot of things have been said that we just can't know. There are a lot of things that we can look at that I'm sure that outside looking in, astronomy, if you were not part of this, if you were on the outside of this, looking in, knowing what we know about Ilya Moon and Sean Hufford, I'm willing to bet that you would be reasonably skeptical about what has, the goings on.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it's fair for people to ask for the receipts and ask for transparency on that, and that's why I don't fault you for wanting to see that unredacted and everything. That said, there are things that are being said that are just, let's be honest, beyond the pale, just over the top. I was contacted earlier today by a member of, I believe, Mr. Sensible's community who had asked me to actually talk to you. One of the people who had asked me to actually come on with you and talk to you. And he contacted me today to let me know about some of the things that were being said to me or said about me by Uni, referencing a part of a clip from last night where he was saying that he thinks that I probably beat the dog. I mean, this is just, that's uncalled for, and it's not helpful to the discussion. And it's
that stuff really is. And I will say that there's a lot of things, and I understand, and I get Uni's passion. Sometimes it can be misplaced, and saying things like that, throwing those type of accusations out there without any kind of evidence whatsoever, other than, well, the dog had a UTI, and one of the things that could cause UTI would be if Astronomy Live beat them. So therefore, Astronomy Live beat them. You can't do that. That's just throwing out wild accusations like that. That's one of the reasons why so many people get out of sorts with Unirock. And I don't mean to speak disparagingly of Uni. So anybody listening to this, if you want to take this back to Uni and tell them I was talking shit about him, I guess that's on you. I'm not talking shit about Unirock. There are plenty of people who will do that, and that's fine. They can do. Thaddeus Costa is absolutely correct. The dog can get UTI from stress, and the stress of losing his person. There's a lot of things that go on with animals that can cause UTI.
Yeah, and to be clear, Dexter was in a very stressful situation. He had just lost his human,
his person,
in a traumatic way, and then he got stuck in a shelter where it was very cold. It was an open air sort of pen in the area, but it was still open air in a cold December night. In fact, he was there for a couple nights before I was able to get to him. So, that was very stressful. And by that point, he had developed a severe UTI. I personally don't believe that, Bull had been neglecting him. My belief is that he developed that because of what happened with Bull and everything that happened after that before I could get to him.
Right. So when you take the tiniest grasping of straws and run with that stuff, that's dangerous. Because that type of thing, wild accusations like that can get people hurt. It's very dangerous to throw out a lot of accusations. Now, I understand that Unirock thinks that he can prove everything he says. And again, I appreciate his passion. I sometimes think it might be a little bit misguided, for lack of a better word. Sometimes
I guess I'm not willing to be as charitable as you are to that. And to be fair, I am biased. I'm at the other end of it.
Right.
But it makes it very difficult to maintain a civil conversation. I will not personally, I don't engage in the kind of uncivil language that others will, including Unirock. I try to maintain a PG rating on everything on my channel. And I just won't go there. But it does make it very hard to have a conversation when those bombs are being thrown. And, you have to look at it from my perspective for a moment that, I was doing a favor for a friend. And yes, I was reimbursed for it, but I was going to pick up that dog, and I was taking care of that dog and trying to provide everything I could to make sure that dog was well taken care of and returned to the family. And for doing that, I'm being harassed now for going on 6 months, and these wild accusations are being made against me even now because I talked to you. I mean, that's what triggered this, because of your video.
So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to. When we spoke originally, I asked you if I could bring somebody from the Unirock camp. That way we could, because I told you this was going to happen, right? That unless I came out and said, you're a bastard and you did all this fraud, everything about the whole thing was fraudulent, that no matter what, unless that's exactly what I said, there were going to be people on the other side who wouldn't appreciate the evidence that you provided. Again, and I think that's a little unfair on the other people. That I understand that a lot of you have a lot of emotional investment in this. I get it. I don't have any emotional investment in this.
Right.
I have no reason to bullshit anybody. I don't particularly care for Reds, but I don't hate Reds. I don't particularly care for the way that Unirock handles people. I don't hate Unirock. There are certain people in each one of those camps that I don't care for because of the way they handle themselves, the way they are just vile and say, the most vile of shit. You could talk about me all day long, talk shit, throw shit at me. I don't care. I'm a big guy. I can handle it. But when, Brainy Beaver, that's a different story. Yes, she did irritate the fuck out of me because of that whole fake cancer stuff. Okay. So yeah, that is one. That is one that I'm with you on. But it's unfortunate that just because something that comes out doesn't match with what you want it to be, it's not a personal attack on you or anybody else, right? If sometimes an orange is an orange, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah, and it seems like anytime information comes out that um, exonerates me or Coral, he goes on the attack because I feel like it's because it takes away from his narrative that he wants to push, and he's got emotional investment there pretty clearly that is not benefiting from your video, and so it's again. I offered months ago to go on Unirock's channel and talk to him, but those offers have been ignored or declined. And that's instead we're left with this, and it's just like, what is it going to take? I don't think I can convince Uni no matter what evidence I present. I just don't see this as a rational discussion between him and me. I can't even really have a discussion with him. So what is it going to take though for enough people to realize that, hey, this was above board, or at the very least, Coral and I have presented all the receipts and we did not profit from it, that they tune out. Hopefully people will start tuning out on some of these more wild accusations that just have no basis in fact whatsoever. And I hope, people watch your video and see what you said about it, and that, you saw those receipts and you saw, all the details. Team Skeptic saw the details. And Team Skeptic, again, here's somebody who, he's not going to carry water for Reds. He and Reds don't get along. He has
there's no love lost between those two guys.
Yeah. And he'll say the same thing. He's willing to come on my channel and basically give the same statement you already made. So I don't know. Maybe I'll have him on at some point and he can get the same thing.
Here's the thing. He and I scrutinized, right? So I sent him the stream that I recorded between you, myself, and Coral. I said, hey, look, I need you to take a look at this from a different set of eyes, and let me know where you find holes, and let's see if we can fill them, or if we can. And if we can't fill them, then we need to figure, that'll give us more to look at. And there were a lot of there were things that he came up to me with, right? So he came up to me with, well, why do these two receipts from two different hotels look identical? And that's a good question. Why do they look identical? So we looked at it, and it turns out they're owned by the same parent company. I would expect them to look identical. Oh, see, here's a little one. Hi. Sorry. What the hell
I see Planet X News has joined us in the chat.
I see this. What is this? This guy, Astro Boy, executed a plan to have my wife fired from her 17-year job as a physics professor at a major university. After he repeatedly emailed them, they fired her. He's rotten to the core.
So Planet X News, this is interesting. I'm particularly intrigued that he brings up his wife. Planet X News, I debated him years ago, and after our online debate, he didn't like the result of that, I guess you could say. He called my employer. He found my information, called my employer, and demanded that I be fired. As far as his wife goes, his wife was apparently Dr. Claudia Albers, who runs the Planet X Physicist channel on YouTube, or at least used to. Strangely, she hasn't been seen in quite a while, but nevertheless, he's pretty much taken over that channel now. She was promoting these Planet X conspiracy theories that were, just off the wall physics. So, she didn't. My understanding is she was not fired from her job at a university. She resigned because she was refusing to follow the curriculum or something. I don't know. I don't know the details of that. I do know that I did actually contact her and confirm whether or not that she was really promoting this stuff, because it was damaging to astronomy and to the public in general that she was promoting these end of the world conspiracy theories about the sun dying due to a planet X. Um, and apparently, indeed, that according to her, that was her, and she stood by those theories. Well, those theories didn't go over so well with her university apparently, and she decided to resign rather than stick to the curriculum that was outlined for her. Anyway, he's joined the chat now and is now trying to attack me after having again done what he accused me of, which is actually call my work and demand that I've been fired. I never ever asked that she be fired from her job at her university. No, I did try to seek out whether that was really her because somebody was going around using credentials that they claimed to be a physicist at this university and claimed to be promoting all these papers on Planet X that were not peer reviewed. Well, turns out I guess it was her, and I guess she did stick by her beliefs on that, much to the chagrin of her university. But ultimately, she was the one that decided to resign, according to her own words. When this initially happened, she decided to step down rather than follow the requirements of her university. So, yeah, he did call my work and actually try to demand that I be fired, which didn't work out for him, despite multiple calls on that. You can actually find the recordings of that online on Dazzle the Cameraman's channel. Apparently, he wasn't the only one on those calls. Chris Potter was with him, and at the time, Chris Potter was on his side, but then later decided that what he was doing was not so cool, and turned over the recordings that he had made of those phone calls. So anyway,
Well, that being said, this isn't about that incident. I have no knowledge of this. I have knowledge of receipts. So we're here to talk about those. If anybody has any questions about that, please again tag at the plot hole. Super chats are nice, but you don't have to do it because this is a free channel. That again, what we were talking about, Team Skeptic is scrutinized. He also scrutinized, and then he took what we both believe to be the quote best evidence, and we took that to UniRock's stream. He was live streaming that night, shortly after you and I spoke, and we took him the information that we had. It seemed that he was not interested to hear what we had to say. Maybe he was just tired because he'd been going on for a while, so that's possible. So yeah, I'm curious as to the biggest thing that people are asking for is an independent review, independent audit of this fundraiser. I don't think that you're going to find. I mean, unless there are people who are willing to pay for that, and Reds, Ilya, Sean Hufford, Coral, and Astronomy Live agree to that. I just don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that Astronomy Live or Vegan Atheist would. I mean, they've been more than willing to again open their bank accounts to let us take a look at it. So I don't think that these two have anything to hide when it comes to that. Now, there is the possibility that you guys could have secret bank accounts that we don't know about.
yeah, no. Like I said, I did not make any money from this. I've shown how much money I took in on my bank account and on my PayPal. And I've shown how much was spent and how much was sent out to the family, and it all adds up. It all adds up with the money that was taken in on the GoFundMe. You can see that. The page is public. I don't trust Ilya at all, but I don't have to. I'm just looking at the page with the GoFundMe and seeing how much was taken in there. Mm-hmm. Sean provided all the donations that he received on PayPal. Now, if somebody, if he was skimming off the top there, altering donations, I can't prove a negative on that one, but I do have the documentation on how much was taken in. So if anyone's donation was omitted or altered we'd be able to see that if they come forward and say, hey, I want to check and double check that my donation was actually properly accounted for, and I'll be happy to provide that. The redacted version of that is already available, but of course it's a tricky thing because they were donations on PayPal. People's names are all over them. We don't want to dox everyone who donated by publicly releasing that. So it's kind of a catch-22 on there, but we do have the redacted versions that show the notes that people left with them if they left a note with their donation, so they can confirm the amount according to their own note. Or if they didn't leave a note, they can contact me or Red. They can contact me or Red, and we can show what we have records of based on the unredacted version.
And if anybody doesn't feel safe or comfortable, they can provide me the information. I can take it to both parties involved, and we can have it verified if that's something you would like to do as well. Honestly, I would like to see all this get resolved. I think that from your and vegan atheist standpoint, you've done everything you can to be as transparent as possible, at least for when it goes to your involvement. And if anybody has, again, any questions, more than welcome to ask now. Let's yeah, Signist, I agree. So this is a shame any of this has to happen all over a few measly $1,000. I'm glad I had no part in any of this. And that's, it's unfortunate that we have to talk about this as a, that there have been some people who caused this shit. This is a good question. So what about super chats? I think Astronomy Live has joined the side chat.
Yeah. Oh man, I can't believe he actually showed up. That's hilarious to me. But yeah, whatever.
Yeah, so there are people asking about how were the super chats of that donation. How are they accounted for?
Oh, I'd have to look. I'm not sure off the top of my head. I know there was at least one donation separate from the PayPal and the GFM that was included in the Word doc. But I'd have to look again and see.
Gotcha. All right. I mean, I think that I don't know if it's reasonable to ask Astronomy Live about the super chat, seeing as how you didn't get involved with. I mean, you weren't on any of the live streams, correct?
I don't know off the top of my head. I know I was on the live stream immediately after he passed away, where we sort of remembered him. I wasn't there the whole time, but I was there.
Kind of showed up.
Give my thoughts, and I think I was there, afterwards, covering what we had done for Dexter and stuff. But I didn't have a whole lot of time available at the time that we did the actual fundraiser per se.
So were the super chats from the live stream accounted for in the receipts document? I'm not for certain if the super chats were individually put together. I have to go back and look. I want to say they were. I want to say there was a sheet that had super chat. That could have been part of the PayPal stuff, though. That, I mean, unless it's provided, I don't know if we're going to be able to get that answer because that's kind of a tough thing to do. Super chats, when they come in, if they come in from different, the same thing with PayPal donations, it's going to be a little bit of conversion, and it's going to be something that's done daily. So there's going to be a little bit of fluctuation there. And my fear is that anybody is going to be able to look at that and say, well, because they don't match up to the penny, that's going to give them the opportunity to latch onto that. Planet X News. I'm enjoying watching Astro Boy squirm like the worm he is. Thank you. Well, I try to provide all the entertainment that I can. Nerd Angle says, I find them noticeably missing from the receipt document unless they are part of the PayPal. Do super chats go to PayPal and show the chat as a memo? No. At least not for me, because mine, I had, okay, so anybody who has the ability to get super chats, I have a screen that I can go to in my creator studio that'll bring up all the supers that I've received, at least the ones that YouTube notices in the moment. There are sometimes there's a delay, but after the fact, within a couple of days, I'll have all of them up. Let's see. So yeah, you can go back and look at it on my side. It doesn't whenever the Google AdSense gets all that stuff paid through, it's not broken down that way. So I would have to go back in and look and then provide that. And I could do that on him. So could Reds, anybody else who takes that stuff. So if it's an extra step to go through, and some people would say, hey, here's the lump sum from Google AdSense from this time. But again, I think that there should be a little bit more accounting on that end if they ran the fundraiser stating that super chats would all be donated to this fundraiser. So yeah. Why did Reds claim they smashed Bull's computer with a hammer as part of the role he played in assisting the family? I have no idea. Reds won't speak to me, so I don't know if I could be able to get the answer to that question. Like I said, Reds has blocked me, decided not to speak with me about this, and that's his right. I wish he would, because I like to give everybody the opportunity to speak their piece. But again, he doesn't have to. That's totally up to him. Let's see here. Now, Astronomy Live, I appreciate you coming on the stream and answering questions, especially all last minute style. That means a lot to me that you would take the time out. I know you've got some important, you've got some things you've got to get done. There's something about some sort of celestial event coming up. I don't know, something about I don't know, what do they call that? What do they call that thing that happens? Golly, Astronomy Live is just in that side chat again.
Oh, I'm not in the side chat at the moment. Sorry. So according to Red, I texted him. He said that super chats were turned off for the donation live stream. I don't know. Again, I was there for a few minutes, but I don't recall what the story is with that. So I'd have to check with him and see what the deal is. I mean, we did, none of that was run on my channel, so I don't know the details exactly how that was set up. But according to Red on his channel, when we had the donation live stream, super chats were supposed to be turned off.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Let's see here. Where did it go? So the question was posed: why did Reds? What was it? Why did Reds claim to smash with a hammer the computer? I want to make sure. And why did Reds claim they smashed Bull's computer with a hammer as part of the role he played in assisting the family? My answer was I don't have an answer, because I haven't spoken to Reds. Do you have any insight on that?
I'm sorry. What was that?
See, now I have to find the question again. I'm gonna need you to pay better attention.
All right.
I'm giving you shit. Where'd it go? Damn it, where did it go? I just had it. Why did Reds claim they smashed Bull's computer with a hammer as part of the role he played in assisting with the family?
So again, I don't really want to get into the details of what the family decided to do with his possessions, but I guess Red's already mentioned that. Now, my understanding is that Red said that they smashed the computer with a hammer. I think he was speaking somewhat in loose terms there, or hyperbolically about it. The hard drives were smashed, but the computer was not.
That's fair. Angel Gamer says, I think Johnny was the perfect person for Reds to talk to. From what I've seen, that the plot hole is very fair about everything. I try to be as fair as possible to anybody who wants to come on, to anybody that I'm looking into. I was extremely fair with Ilya until the glaring lies were so much so that she couldn't get past it. So there you go. Let's see here. Yeah, unless we have any other questions here, I want to give Astronomy Live just one, final say, whatever he has to say, what he wants to say. And then I know that you've got some sort of eclipse to get to. So
Oh, not here in Florida. I mean, the totality is unfortunately not going to be visible to us here in Florida. It'll be visible on the West Coast, but the
you mean
moon
you're not going to
sets.
fly to California?
Yeah, no, surprisingly, telescopes don't do so well in the cargo space on airplanes.
Fair enough. Last question: can you compel Reds to make the fundraiser stream public? I think there are other people who have that fundraiser stream. I might be able to go through there and verify whether or not the super chats were turned off. But
he texted me. I mean, I'm just telling you what he texted me. He texted me a screenshot of the Remembering Boole fundraiser update. Monetization is off on it, and there was no estimated $0 estimated revenue on that. So that's what I have records of. Now, if there was some other stream where some super chat came in, I don't know. But at least on the fundraiser, the actual fundraiser stream, that did not have super chats enabled.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, if anybody wants to get that independently verified, I will go back and look through the things that I have privy to, and we'll go through there. I don't see any reason. That's something that can be easily verified. So I'm not sure. We'll take a look. If you, like I said, not a big deal. Anyway, Astronomy Live. If you would please have your say, and then we can.
Yeah. Well, again, thanks for having me on. Thanks for interviewing me and looking at the receipts and tallying everything up. At the end of the day, I feel like all I did was a favor for a deceased friend and his family, and I'm proud of what I was able to accomplish there. I'm proud of what we did, taking care of Dexter and getting him up to the family. The community enabled it. I feel like, yes, I was reimbursed, but in a way that was also an opportunity for the community to contribute because they wanted to. They wanted to help there, and I'm glad they got to. Dexter is a great dog, and he was great when he was here. And I can tell you that honestly, he left in a much healthier state than he arrived in. And I'm thankful for that, and I'm thankful that he's now with his family as he should be. There's been talk of, well, he should have gone back to be a service dog again. Again, that's not for me to decide. As far as I'm concerned, that was the family's decision to make, and we're honoring their decisions here. We were in contact with family from the beginning, and we followed their wishes, and even down to the way the checks were made out to the mother. That was at the parents' request. So that's what we did. So that's, I don't know what else to say there. I hope at some point it starts to quell down, and people stop making conspiracy theories about my involvement in it and Coral's involvement in it and even Red's involvement in it. I understand the distrust, and frankly, what Sean and Ilya did fractured this community, and that's something that still bothers me, and it boggles my mind what they've done. And so I'm not happy with that. But that is, I can only do so much in terms of what I can provide. I'm providing all of my receipts and all the things that I can show. But at the end of the day, the one thing I can't really do is I can't just publish the screenshots with the unredacted names from Sean's PayPal, because that wouldn't be fair to all the donators to have their names out there.
Right.
But they can come to me if they want to double check their donation. Please come to me. If there was any fraud, I want to know about it. But I don't see any evidence of that, and ultimately, I can't prove a negative. But if you have positive evidence of a fraud, by all means, bring it to me. I haven't seen it yet, but I will happily look at it. And I have provided all of my receipts. Of course, I did redact the ones that were publicly released, but I've shown you, Johnny, the receipts unredacted. I've shown team the receipts unredacted. I showed everything. I showed my accounts and everything. So, beyond that, I don't know what else I can do to prove my innocence, but I feel like I have proven my innocence beyond all reasonable doubt here. And I hope people, I hope, and I think this is true. I think the vast majority of people understand that, and they trust me, and they know I'm trustworthy. I think it's a relatively small but very vocal minority that follow the conspiracy theories or promote them. And I don't know that that will ever really change. But you know, it's unfortunate. However, if I had it to do over again, yes, I would still do it because Wool deserved it and Dexter deserved the help. So I don't regret that one iota.
Hmm. And I think that here's the thing: we don't have to trust you because you've put the evidence out, at least as far as when it comes to your involvement. Now, that being said, I know there are a lot of people that still aren't satisfied, and I can understand why. Again, I absolutely understand why people are still not satisfied with the fundraiser overall. I think people should be satisfied with Vegan Atheist and with Astronomy Live when it comes to their involvement in the fundraiser. And I know a lot of people are going to look at me, well, why should we take your word for it, Johnny? You know what? That's fine. You don't have to take my word for it. I'm perfectly okay with being doubted. It doesn't bother me. I have no reason to fib. Again, I care if about the fraud aspect of it. I care about people being taken advantage of. Reason why I cover these types of stories. I covered the Sean story. That's why I cover the Ilya Moon story, because people are being taken advantage of. That's the reason why I looked into this one here, because we have to go by the history, right? So Red's, whether he is directly involved in it or not, that right for what I'm about to say, people. So put your fucking pitchforks down and blow out your torches and listen to what I have to say. For what I'm about to say right now, Red's motive behind the involvement as it pertains to whether or not the other fundraisers need to be looked at is immaterial. The fact that he is involved, period. And he does seem to be, Red's, Ilya, and Sean do seem to be the common denominator in a lot of this stuff. Red's more than the other two. There are certain things that are being asked to by others when it comes to this, to the fundraiser, that is just, again, it's just, there are some things that we just can't know. We won't know. If Boole's family wishes to reach out to me and give me what they believe happened, or their side of the story, absolutely, I'll listen. And I, if with their blessing, we'll report back on that. I don't think we need to continually beating up people simply because we don't like them. I'm not asking you to like Astronomy Live. I'm not asking you to like Vegan Atheist. I'm not asking you to like Reds, Boole, anybody. I'm not even asking you to like me. You can fucking hate me all you want. That's perfectly fine. What I am asking you to do is to be reasonable. Take a look at what's been put out. Again, I'm not the only person who has substantiated these claims. There are other people that have looked at this as well, who have come to very similar conclusions. Let's put this set of evidences, let's put that aside for a second, and then look at other avenues. Let's look at the other players involved. If we can find it, if it can be found, we'll find it, period. That being said, I do appreciate Astronomy Live joining me on short notice and answering questions. He didn't have to do this. He really didn't have to show the receipts. He could have just fucked off with all. If this really was just these people stealing money, they could all just fucked off with it and taken off and not said anything. I do wish that Reds would speak to me, but again, doesn't have to. I would like to get his side of the story. I will be fair with him. He may not like the questions that I ask, and that's perfectly okay, but it is what it is. That being said, I think it's time for us to take a break. Let's all go. I think MC Tune's doing something, right? MC Tune's having some sort of debate or whatever. Let's go have some fun over there. Let's go get in a live chat. Let's have some fun. Excuse me. Let's get to the fun times again. At least for a minute. Let's take a break from all this stuff. Let's let this right here. CNN News. No one cares about the receipts issue, the complete mismanagement of funds, and blundered accounting by Reds. Well, CNN News, I appreciate you chiming in, although I don't think that you really CNN News. That being said, let's go have some fun. Astronomy Live, I appreciate it. Everybody, I'm Johnny O. It's been the Plot Hole Special Report. I'm the fuck out of here.